You're there in the car, new tyres, you've got a 7-time world champion in front of you, and you've got one lap to change your history.
Max Verstappen, you are the world champion! The world champion!
This is Formula 1 world champion Max Verstappen, and he's won multiple F1 World Championships since his first in 2021. At this point, there's no denying his greatness. But even so, he is a divisive figure within the sport.
That's what he is.
You used the word after the race concerning Max Verstappen then.
This guy's crazy, man.
This guy is dangerous. I just have to avoid a crash.
What the hell is that?
Verstappen was outstanding, the way he passed everybody. I mean, I knew the guy's good, but he proved it again to everybody what
Yes,
he
I've
can
had
do.
Senna in the car. Yes, I've had Michael Schumacher in the car. If you could get Senna, Schumacher and Max in the same cars, in the same race, I think Max would edge us.
His way of racing, oh, it's ugly. He will not give a single inch to you, quite literally none, and has stirred up the media time and again ever since his debut in 2015.
Max, why have you had so many accidents?
I don't know. And like I said in the beginning of this press conference, I got really tired of all the questions, so yeah. I think if I get a few more, I'll headbutt someone.
This bravado that he brings is a common trait shared with some other champions and the greats of Formula 1.
Oh no, he didn't see me there. Well, no chance. You know, you gotta either be blind or stupid to not see me, but you know, it's racing.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. Because we are competing. We are competing to win. And the main motivation to all of us is to compete for a victory.
I know what I'm doing. I'm well in control of what I'm executing on track. Sometimes it's necessary, you know, and yeah, I will do everything I can to win.
But it doesn't matter if you like him or not, because the truth of the matter is that he does not give a singular about your opinions.
I race in a strong and fair way like I've always done. It's for him to change, not me, so.
Are you going to change the way you go racing this weekend?
Yeah, I've heard that before, right, in my career. So it's my 10th year in Formula 1. I think I know what I'm doing.
Just wondering how you reflect on what happened now and all the talk about it afterwards.
Same as what I said before. And yeah, that's it for me, to be honest.
And that is at the very core of Max Verstappen. He's here to compete. He's here to win. He demands perfection from his car, from his team, and especially himself. So where did this hunger for greatness come from? And how come does he beat just about everyone? Well, believe it or not, it all traces back to one man. Let me tell you a quick story. Back in the year 1993, there was a promising young racer from the Netherlands. This young fella was set to do an F1 test for the footwork team. And when he did, his lap times off the gates were very impressive. At the end of that test day, he managed a best time that was only 0.07 seconds from what the team's regular driver Derek Warwick had managed in the official qualifying session. The whole Formula 1 paddock took notice of this, and soon, this young up-and-comer found his inbox full after being contacted by every team except Ferrari and Williams at the time. Wait a second, this young fella kinda looks like Max Verstappen, doesn't he? Well, that's because he's none other than Max Verstappen's father, Jos Verstappen.
Well, meet this man who's nicknamed the Flying Dutchman, Jos Verstappen. 20 years old, only 1 year of racing cars, and this former kart champion is a star in the making.
Okay, what sort of a style? How would you describe your driving style?
Very hard, aggressive. I cannot allow somebody in a form.
This is the man that started it all for the Verstappen name in Formula 1. Because after his impressive showcase at the Estoril test, Verstappen soon landed himself a drive in the Benetton team for the 1994 season, alongside Michael Schumacher. Yes, the Michael Schumacher.
These two drivers could well be on the grid for Benetton in Brazil. On the right, test driver Jos Verstappen, and this, of course, Michael Schumacher, the German.
Und ein Mordsunfall! Aua! Heieiei, ein dummer Unfall von Rubens Barrichello, der offensichtlich Michael Schumacher.
Not very good is how Verstappen's 1994 campaign can be described. Or just his entire Formula One career, to be honest. Because after bagging 2 podiums in 1994, Verstappen never stepped onto the podium ever again. From 1995 onwards, he went from team to team, which were mostly midfield and backmarker teams, ultimately ending his F1 career in 2003 after a disappointing season with the Minardi team. And that would be the last time we see Verstappen in Formula One. Or is it?
What would you do if one of your kids says, I want to be a Formula One racer? Would you encourage it, or would you say, get it out of your heads?
I mean, Formula One is very far away, and you never know what happens after 15 years. But if I really will help them whatever he wants to play. If he wants to play football, I do everything I can to get the best team or whatever. And it's the same in go-kart or tennis or whatever.
Verstappen's masterpiece wasn't done. In fact, it might have just started. In 1997, Jos Verstappen made the single most important decision he could ever make. And that was to have a child. His firstborn he named Maximilian Verstappen. While initially Jos hadn't planned for Max to follow in his footsteps and become a Formula One driver, he probably knew that his son Max would have a better chance than 90% of the population if he were to do so. You see, the road to becoming a Formula One driver is a very windy, competitive, and money-depleting one. But with Max being born into a racing family who has the knowledge, connections, and money to kickstart a racing career, it would make the road to F1 a lot easier. Easier, not easy. Because the road to F1 for Max was far from easy, as Jos hadn't planned to make it so. Having tried his first go-kart at the age of 4, Max started competing at the age of 7. Very young indeed. From the Belgium and Dutch national championships to the European circuits, where he met some of his future rivals there.
Max, what happened? No, he's just unfair. I'm leading, he wants to pass, he pushed me, I push him back, and after he pushed me off the track. It's not fair.
Thank you, Max. What's happened with Max?
Nothing, just an incident on the race.
It was clear that Max Verstappen was something special in the making. He was a young, hard racer who had the will to win. And remember when Jos said that he would give his all for his son's career and give him the best everything? Well, that he did. Jos Verstappen ran his own go-kart team for his son, and he would fine-tune the motors, chassis, and setups to perfection in order for Max to succeed.
Once you start it with your own child, it goes a lot further. You do a lot more for it, you know. You don't leave anything untouched. I wanted him to be the best.
In return, Jos also demanded perfection from Max, as he had already sacrificed his time and money into his career. And besides, Max is his firstborn son. Who wouldn't want their son to be successful and do anything that they could to help him get there? Jos wanted Max to become the best racer he could be, with the ultimate goal of reaching Formula One, of course. For Jos, this meant that he should use some methods to shape Max into the perfect driver. These methods Jos had in mind weren't the sunshine and rainbows of "you've got this, son, if you win I'll buy you a PlayStation." No, it was more like the "win this race or I'll leave you at the gas station" type.
So I kept trying, and then at one point he said like, "Get out!" Like here at the fuel, he stopped at the fuel station. He said, "Get out! I don't want to talk to you anymore."
We went to the go-kart track, and it was in the wintertime, was freezing. So I let the van run so he could warm up, and then we did 10 laps. Cold. I said, okay, go warm up. And then 3 minutes later,
where is he now? I said, come on, drive. I'm still, I don't care, drive.
In PFI, you remember?
Yeah.
And World Championship.
First session.
Yeah, I was driving like a potato, I swear, it was really bad.
I said, fuck, what is he doing? So I called him in. He came back and
there was trouble.
So he would stand up and I really smashed him on his helmet here. Bang!
Oh, ja, alles ervoor over hebben, zeg maar. Terwijl de andere kinderen voor leuk is spelen.
Dat ik het leukste vind, maar...
Ik vond het ook soms leuk om op een zaterdag te gaan voetballen of zo. Snap je?
My dad did that once to a mechanic with a fork.
It was really quite the journey that young Max Verstappen had. But these methods shaped Max Verstappen into becoming the racing machine we would know today. It gave him the mentality of I need to win, and I will win. From the outside looking in, some would say that this is not the correct way to treat a child. But for the Verstappens, it was just part of the winning formula. And winning, did he do a lot? Max Verstappen wiped the floor with his opponents on track and won just about every karting championship to be won. All of those days spent testing on track, missing out on football with his friends, and the cold days of testing go-karts in the winter, it has finally paid off. But now, the real challenge begins. Because after 8 years in the karting scene, in 2014, Verstappen would finally move up to single-seaters. And not just any single-seaters. Verstappen jumped straight into the thick of it as he entered one of the most competitive junior single-seater championship out there, European Formula 3.
Race victory for the first time in cars. Max Verstappen, absolute.
Round 13 is won by Max Verstappen. He's trying to join in Verstappen round the outside. Brilliant move. Brilliant. Verstappen.
Even until this day, Formula 3 is where Formula 1 teams start noticing you as a junior driver. And this is the time that you, as a racing father, would know if your son is actually good enough to make it into Formula 1. Most junior drivers spend 2 to 3 years in Formula Fords and Formula Renaults before making the jump to Formula 3. And even then, most of them didn't have a soft landing in Formula 3. And what did Max Verstappen do in Formula 3? He wreaked havoc. 7 poles, 16 podiums, and 10 wins. In his first year of single-seaters, geen probleem, as they would say in Dutch. He took the whole world by surprise, especially after bagging 6 wins in a row at one point.
Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen takes 3 wins at Spa.
Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen 6 on the trot. He is closing the gap, no doubt about it.
While of course, Verstappen didn't have the perfect season, as some rookie mistakes and crashes were apparent. But that's expected from a rookie. I mean, the guy was racing go-karts just months prior. And we're not exactly looking for the perfect driver down in Formula 3. We're looking for potential diamonds in the rough. And one party successfully acquired that diamond in the rough. And it is of course Red Bull Racing. Other parties like Mercedes was also interested in Max's signature. But the Verstappens couldn't resist what Red Bull was offering them. And that was a potential Formula 1 contract as soon as next year. And if you asked me or anyone else at the time, really, that sounds absurd. Max Verstappen was barely 17 years old and only had 1 full year of car racing experience at the time. But that's the reality. He's finally at the doorstep of achieving his dream. Leaving behind a short but sweet junior career, the Verstappen name is finally back in Formula 1.
Verstappen overtaking Nico Rosberg. The boy just goes and finds grip.
Is there enough room to go around the outside? It's bold, it's brave, it's beautiful from Max Verstappen.
Verstappen's having none of it. Bottas might have to yield here, and he does.
Brilliant. I love that.
Since his Formula 1 debut in 2015 with Toro Rosso, Max Verstappen has experienced a lot of learning days. But through those learning days, he's become a better driver in every step of the way. And in many ways, he's become one of the most feared driver on the Formula 1 grid. His story in Formula 1 isn't done. He's still writing his masterpiece on track. But here are some of the things you should know about Max Verstappen's career in Formula 1 so far. He became the youngest point scorer in F1 history at just 17, became the youngest podium sitter and winner at 18, youngest driver with a Grand Slam, most podiums, most points, wins, and consecutive wins in a single season. 112 podiums, 63 wins, 4 world championships, and counting. He's done it. He has realized his dream of becoming Formula 1 world champion.
But this was the ultimate dream, and now that we have achieved that, basically for me, everything what comes next is a bonus.
What does come next for Max Verstappen?
A few more years in Formula 1 where I'm gonna enjoy it.
But don't get him wrong. Even if everything else is just a bonus, he still has his foot stuck to the gas pedal, always giving 110%. He's still the same old fierce, feisty, and divisive figure that is Max Verstappen. That hasn't changed. So what is it? What makes Max Verstappen so good? Why does he beat just about everyone? Is it simply the talent and natural instinct that he has for racing? Or is it the cold and harsh ways of Jos Verstappen that shaped him into being a great? Or is it the love that he has for racing himself? Well, it's probably a little bit of all of those things. Being born into a racing family, Max has it easier than most people to get into racing. The unforgiving methods of Jos Verstappen shaped Max into someone with a thick shell right from the get-go. It might have been grueling and harsh at times, but as they say, hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. If Jos had given Max an easy time back then, Max wouldn't have been the person that he is today. But it also wouldn't have worked if Max didn't have the passion for racing himself. And that is the formula that makes Max Verstappen. So, racing dads out there, if you want to start your own project Verstappen, you know the recipe. You just need to go to the local gas station and leave. On a serious note, even though Max is seen as a very tough person inside the cockpit, outside of it, we get to see a very different side of him. I find him very humble, down to earth, and connected to reality, which cannot be said about other world-famous athletes who's making tens of millions every year. Often being seen making time for a quick photo with his fans, especially for the little guys. And when he's back home in Monaco, he spends his time sim racing with his friends, among other things.
Got a hot too, and then you can finish it up.
His personality on and off the track, along with his sensational driving, has gained him a lot of fans, and for the same reasons has gained him a lot of haters too. Although I'm sure he really doesn't mind, because winning is all that matters for him. I suggest we treasure the great moments he's producing behind the wheel, as it is not a given that Max Verstappen will still be racing in 10 or even 5 years' time. We are witnessing greatness while it's being written. Appreciate greatness while it's here, and 20 years from now, when it's all said and done, we will reminisce upon it and probably appreciate it even more. Then, racing fans will tell stories about a legend named Max Verstappen.